everybody. Welcome to the Journey Wellness Podcast. We're back.
Welcome.
All right. So, I think this one's going to be touchy.
Touchy in a two-parter.
Touchy in a two-parter. Right, it's going to be some trigger alerts. So,
Yes.
some trigger alerts coming out. Just please, no harm is intended for anyone, but we need to talk about some things as men and women.
Right.
As husbands and wives, things that we really need to address that sometimes comes up in coaching sessions and
Yes, it does.
has given us reasons to stumble in the past when we were coming up and coming through and still trying to resolve, right? So,
Correct.
Today's topic is
You got issues.
Yeah, you got issues. Now it's kind of tough.
Yes, it is.
So when a person tell you got issues, we don't mind telling other people you got issues, but people telling us we got issues,
It's a bad situation.
it don't go over too well.
Nope, sure don't.
We don't receive it like we give it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Which is now, if you're my wife, which you are, and I'm your husband, which I am. If you say you have issues, hopefully you having 100% view of me, because you can walk around me at leisure and get a full understanding of what I'm doing in that moment.
Right.
Maybe not why,
Right.
but you can get a 100% impact of my outside, my 360, so to speak.
Yes, correct.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say I got an issue, I may need to be like, well, is it something I can't see? Like my shirt untucked in the back.
Yeah.
Do I got tissue still stuck on the bottom of my shoe coming out the men's or the ladies' room when you come out?
I about to say, why you coming out the ladies' room? Okay, go ahead.
Nowadays they got unisex bathrooms. That's the craziness stuff that we do nowadays. I'm just saying, but I don't do that. But that's a whole different topic.
Yes, totally different.
When we start talking about issues, we have a tendency of belittling our spouse because of their issues.
Because of their issues, correct.
Right? So, like we said in the beginning, this is going to be a two-parter.
Correct.
Right?
Today is going to be for the men.
Yeah, we're going to start with the brothers first.
Yes.
Right? We want to be the head and not the tail.
Right.
Then we got to go first.
Correct.
Okay, let me take a deep breath. Jesus, keep me near the cross. Help me, Father. Holy Spirit, help. All right, here we go.
All right, daddy issues.
Yeah.
Is generally a catchphrase often used as a disparagingly to refer to women who have complex, confusing, or dysfunctional relationships with men. It can describe people, most often women, who project subconsciousness impulses towards men partners in their life.
Yeah. And so with daddy issues as it compares to men, a person with a father complex has unconscious impulses because of their poor relationship with their father. These impulses can either be positive or negative. A negative impulse towards a partner could be fear or distrust, while a positive impulse could be admiration towards the partner or their spouse.
On their spouse, right.
Right? So that's a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
You know what I mean? So I know we mentioned the women's part, so ladies, we're going to come back.
Yeah.
We're not negating you ladies at all. We're not going
It's a two-parter, so there's next.
So but we're going to deal with the men first, right?
Yeah.
So as a man, having daddy issues could be a problem, good or bad. Because I could have a great role model, and that was my dad's strength. But my dad's strength may not be my strength. It could be my weakness or my ignorance.
Correct.
So because I admire that about my dad, I'm trying to aspire to be someone that's naturally built that way. So I want you to fit that mold so I can look like my dad.
But you want to inspire someone that's doing something good, not something that they're doing bad.
Yeah, but say for instance, my dad's a great dad.
Yeah, some dads are not great dads. You don't want to be inspired by someone that's doing negative stuff. You should be doing the right stuff.
But what if my dad's a good dad?
Then that's the one you want to admire. Because then you want to model after him.
But should I let him be my example full time? My full picture of what a man's supposed to be?
If he was in your life full time, yeah. And if you've seen the good things that he's done, yes. But if not, no, he shouldn't be.
What if that's not my strength, though?
Well, you only can do what you can do in your strength.
Right.
You can't be someone else that you're not.
So as a wife, if my dad, like for instance, my dad was really good at, making sure everybody was safe.
Right.
being that provider type
Yes, he
dude.
was.
And he got 8 kids with a bunch of different moms.
Right.
So when you got somebody that you could just pick the phone up and they ride through
hmm
and they meet the need, he was a perfect example of provision. He was
Yes,
a
he
good
was.
example of provider. However, he wasn't a good example of stability.
Right.
Right? Now, I love him.
hmm
I honor him. I value him highly. Right?
Right.
But there was a part of my dad I had to say to myself, that's not good for me.
That's right.
That's not going to turn out
Mhm.
good in my marriage.
That's right. You're right.
Right?
Mhm.
So I believe, as a man, I have to take responsibility to have that healthy view
hmm
of my dad's strengths and weaknesses. And
Right.
then take the strengths, and then try to, make them my own, but then shun those weaknesses and use them as a cautionary tale.
But you are your own individual, though.
That's right.
So you shouldn't take on everything that he has done for you, because the way he lived his life, you're going to live your life differently.
Correct. But
So,
what happens is we tend to we try to take on that full view.
and we can't do that because I'm a different person.
I'm a different person.
I can't take on the same views that my mom had. I can kind of use it as a guideline, but I can't do the same thing that she does because it may not work for our marriage.
And that's the key, right?
Right.
Our marriage.
Exactly.
Because that works for mom.
Yeah.
Now, we could take some things out of that. We
Yeah.
could glean, right?
Yeah.
But we can't buy that whole field.
Right. Nope. I don't want to buy the whole field.
Heck no.
Some of the things that they done back then is not good for us these days.
No.
I mean, think about the way the times are going now.
Yeah.
Things are different. So I wouldn't want to use those things that she done back then to use now.
So we need to have godly wisdom.
That's
today.
correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, oh boy, these are going to be tough.
Let's go to the common 8 signs
Oh,
that you have daddy issues.
okay, breathe. Let me breathe. Drink some water. Y'all go.
Yeah, the first one is you have anxious attachments. So we're going to read them all and then you can break it down. The next one is you are afraid of being vulnerable. You are you use sex to feel loved. You have trust issues. You pick unhealthy partners. You have trouble setting boundaries. You put your partner on a pedestal. And last, you date people who are much older than you. All right, let's deal with number 1. You have anxious attachments.
Man. Ooh. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
That's a lot. So one of the things I think, I'd use me as an example. There were times when my dad wasn't available, right? And I felt as though I had to figure it out on my own, even from my youth, right? I had to figure it out on my own. And when he would come through is when he came through. And it was always taken care of. But the struggle was the weight part. So it built a certain level of anxiety, a certain level of independence or impatience, rather, right? Maybe. For me to just go ahead and just figure it out and get it done.
Right.
Even if I was wrong, and then let him undo it, right? So it, at least with me, it gave me at times the mentality that even if I got it wrong, somebody else could fix it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? And I think sometime early in our marriage, I believe I had that same mentality. I know I had that same mentality.
You sure did.
I would do certain things, have certain responses, and then I would just wait for you to fix it. Or I would wait for somebody to come in and fix it. Like, well, help me with this because, I messed it up, so help me. And if someone didn't help me, I became angry.
Yeah.
I would be resentful. I would be bitter. But deep down inside, that was that child Larry, not the adult Larry, responding to those moments of being uncovered, so to speak.
Right.
And so it bred those things of being afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I can't put myself at risk because if people see me at risk, especially the environment we grew up in, you a target.
Oh, you're a target. Yeah, definitely.
You're a mark. You know what I mean? You an easy person to just pick or make a victim. You're an easy pick, right? So it made a thing where even if I was wrong, I had to be tough. So the bravado had to be on 20. You know what I mean? The button go to 10, but the bravado had to be on 20. You had to double down on the foolishness. So if somebody said, they didn't like what you was doing, you have to yell, scream, cuss them out, threaten. And so now I carry that as growing up as a child into my marriage. So when you tell me you don't like the way I did something, my ego gets attacked.
Yeah.
And because now I have a habit, and now you've taken my vulnerability, and you pointed out that there's an opportunity for for better, or
Yeah.
more work or improvement, I respond from
Different.
that child.
Yep. That's right.
And that's a hard thing for a lot of brothers to come to grips with. I know it was for me, right? I feel like sometimes people just were coming down on me for no reason at all.
Right. You was just that child that was sitting over in the corner waiting for their dad to come and
Yeah,
pick them up, sitting there rocking like this. When is dad coming? When is dad coming? Mommy, daddy's not coming.
yeah,
And mommy saying, don't worry, dad'll be here.
yeah,
Not knowing that she already knew, not knowing, but she knew that daddy wasn't coming.
right.
But she didn't want to hurt your feelings. So that's why you was sitting there rocking. When is daddy coming? When is daddy coming? And so every time you got attacked, you felt like daddy's not coming. Daddy's not coming.
Yeah,
And then you was left vulnerable.
yeah,
Because then think about it, if you sit there and you got a little child sitting there waiting on their daddy, and eventually time go past and that child sitting there, all you see is tears run down his eyes.
yeah.
Because he felt like my daddy don't love me anymore. My daddy don't love me. But that's how it was.
That's how I felt.
That's how you can see it. When you just sit back and just picture stuff, that's how you will see that.
Yeah, and it's weird how those things, we get really good at masking them.
Yeah.
Right? We get
It
good
become
at,
your norm.
it becomes our norm. So we have the trauma. We use our own sewing kit,
Right.
and we don't get the proper medical attention. So now I got this pathway, this neural pathway, this emotional pathway, whatever that response mechanism is, and that's how I treat everyone else.
Yes.
Right. So, like I said at the beginning, like we said earlier, earlier in our relationship, you would say really simple things like, "Hey, babe, why don't you just, you can't be yelling at people like that.
Right.
You're going to mess around and put us in a bad spot."
Yeah.
And I would get very angry because to me, it sounds like, you're saying I'm not covering you.
Right.
You're saying that I'm not going to be there for you when it gets thick.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to prove something to you that I will be by being demonstrative, right? So it was like in several times, something would pop off and, I race cross town. I don't care if I was at work, in the street. All I got, Black, Keita got a problem with so-and-so. Oh, here you go. We riding out.
Right.
And then it's me, it's other people with me. Everybody's at risk because I have an issue.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, God forbid you got friends and they got some of the same problems, some of the same struggles. Now, all you guys take turns putting yourself at risk.
Right.
Because you're going to prove, hey, I got your back because when daddy wasn't there, somebody got you. It's a cycle that if we don't identify and we don't let that child heal, it can be very bad. It can be very damaging. And we'll go from relationship to relationship. Like the next section is calling sex love.
Right.
Because we don't have the ability, or we don't want to make ourselves available to be vulnerable.
Right.
Right? We don't want to understand what it means to be empathetic in a relationship and receive empathy. I think that's another part that men struggle with. We struggle receiving empathy. I want somebody not to feel what I'm feeling, just understand what I'm going through and have compassion for it, right? Because when I get it, I'm more inclined to give it, but I have to be open to receive it. If I'm not open to receive it, I don't get it.
You're not going to get it.
And I definitely won't give it. Right? So all of a sudden now that turns into me having
trust issues. And that's when a lot of men cheat.
Yeah.
That's why they have multiple, relationships with people, because they don't have trust. And then they take that on to another relationship, and then they move on to another relationship, and all the trust that they thought they had, they didn't have.
Right.
And so now it's not just you're doing that to one person, but you're doing it to multiple people.
I'm just sharing my scar.
You sharing your scar. And then the bad part is some of the women really love that person. And the thing is, they want to be committed to one person. But that man that's going around, messing around with all these different women, don't want to be committed because he had that issue.
Yeah, and so when you think about that conflict, right, that goes back into the next thing, picking unhealthy partners.
Right.
It ties back into a woman's thing, I'm going to fix him.
Right. And
I'm going to help him. I'm going to help him get past this. He's a good man. I'm going to help him get through this. But she may not be equipped.
Right.
Or healed in certain areas of her life. So my deficiency ties into her deficiency, not her strength.
Right. hmm Right. And so that's when he has to go get help. See, there is nothing wrong with going to go get help.
What you mean? Are we talking to somebody?
You need to go talk to somebody.
Man, I talk with Jesus. What you talking about? I'm
You
a
can
man
talk
of
to
God.
Jesus, but Jesus put people on earth so that way they can help you other situations.
Man,
There are other people you can go out there and talk to. Do not suffer in silence.
mental health is a real problem.
It is a real problem. So
Yeah.
that's why God put people out here to help with that issue.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you're supposed to talk to him first, but he's going to send people in your life that you can go talk to.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed in education, teachers are spending more time
Mhm.
dealing with the mental health
Right.
of their students as well as their peers than they are educating people to academics.
Correct.
Because until you get the mind right,
Mhm.
you can't get information
No.
right.
You can't. And this is why I said, go get help.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with going to get help. Back in the day when we was, growing up, you would hear our parents and, their friends or whatever, they always talk about, we're not going to go get no help. That's for a certain, ethnicities,
Yeah.
right? And that's not true. That is not true. Help is available to anybody that wants to receive it.
Yeah.
Anybody. And
Yeah.
I'm not against help, going to get help.
And here's the thing. So there are free services, right?
Yeah.
So for people that are not as fortunate to have the resources
Right.
or have the proper insurance, there's help there.
It
Now,
is help.
is it the top tier of help? No, because
Yeah.
you're not paying top tier money.
Right.
But you got it. If the house is on fire
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
can get out the front door, out the window, out the side door, or out the basement door, the key is to get out.
Get out. Exactly. No matter how you get out, you get out.
It don't stay in the house because the front door is the only available door and there's a
Mhm.
fire in front of it, but the
Right.
back door is open and it's not a fire there. And I'm gonna sit inside this house because why? Well, the back door. That's that we don't look good going out the back door. Like, man, no, get out the house.
Safety is safety, no matter how you get
You
out.
can get safe from the outside,
Right.
but you cannot be safe inside of something that's on fire.
Exactly.
Firemen don't stay in the house beyond a certain point, and they're equipped, trained, and skilled for it.
Mhm. Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those things we really need to think about. So we have trouble setting boundaries, or as I say, respecting boundaries.
Respecting. I call it putting your wall up.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the boundaries, but you still got a wall up when you set boundaries.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that.
And then that tells you, well, this room or this area, you have access.
Yeah.
But this area over here, you don't have access.
Mhm.
But how do I cleave and become one flesh when I don't give you access?
Right.
It's the same thing on the spiritual side too.
Mhm.
How do I say, God, help me, when I say, well, God, don't touch this part right here?
Right. Because you don't want no help in that part.
I want to look good on the outside, God.
Mhm.
I don't want to be whole on the inside.
Right.
But when we're whole on the inside, that's what blesses us on the outside.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
what a real blessing is. Because now I have peace,
Mhm.
right? Because think about it this way. Jesus says, the Bible says, Paul says, he said, peace that passes
It's
all
all
understanding. So I don't have understanding on my outside. I have
Mm-mm.
understanding on my inside. It's in my mind. It's in my
Right.
heart. Those are the things. Once I have peace in those two places, we can generally get through most of everything that happens.
Yeah, we can.
Right? But when we try to, I'm gonna be right here. I use me as an example, right? So there was a stage in my life when my dad lived around the corner from us. My mom didn't know.
Mhm.
By happenstance, I'm out playing with my friends. I saw my dad's car, and for like days on end during the summer, I would sit and I would wait for that car to pull up into his spot. So I learned where his parking spot was, and then after a while, I'm like, hey, he pulls up. Hey, Dad, what's going on? Hey, what's up, son? And we had a great conversation. It was wonderful. Come on in the house, man. Let's sit down and talk. So we went in the house. We sat down and talked. And before I left one of those days, he said, hey, don't tell your mother where I'm staying.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, why? He said, I moved here so I could be close to you. Still touched.
But once again, you was that little boy sitting here rocking,
Yes.
waiting for your daddy to come.
Yeah. And check it. Sitting here now, 54
Mhm.
years old, I had an emotional tug just now
Right.
when I heard what my words say, what my father said to me. I moved closer so I
Yeah.
could be near you.
Mhm.
So somewhere that's that desire that we have to have fathers near us, to have
Right.
our parents near us, and to affirm us, right? Still,
Right.
and when people say I don't need that, those are the ones I'm really more concerned with, because now they've really just they suppressed that thing so bad, somebody else is going to pop that bubble and they're
Right.
going to get spewed on.
Right.
So it's very important that
Mhm.
we handle these things properly, and that we
Right.
get the support that we need. If you don't want to call it help, call it support. If you don't want
Mhm.
to call it support, call it guidance.
Right.
Find that word that makes it appeasable to your current state, mentally
Right.
and emotionally, to get the
Mhm.
support that you need, so you can grow and mature and heal that area of your life.
Draw close to God. He'll draw close to you.
That's it. So
So
we of
yeah.
course y'all know we got our scriptures. We're
Yeah,
gonna
but you
leave
got to
you with the
finish the other
scriptures.
one first. You still
Oh yeah,
got
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
got to put your partner on a pedestal.
yeah.
You
Ooh,
should
yeah,
not put your partner on a
yeah,
pedestal because he's a man. A man will fail you
yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
The only one that will not fail you is God.
yeah. I mean, if you think about society too, there's movies out.
Yeah.
You'll see the man or the woman. They'll put that person so high up, and all of a sudden, when that
Mhm.
person does something a little wrong,
Right.
the whole world crash.
The whole world crash. Right. You don't put your faith in man like that.
No,
Put your faith in God. Yeah, I know you that you're my husband, and I know that you're going to do things that that's going to make me mad or cause me to have some distrust. In the beginning of our marriage, don't have no distrust now, but
right.
it took time for that. But the thing is, though, I couldn't put you on a pedestal because if I would have, when you did what you did, it would have really crashed me. It would have really crashed me. And the thing is, if it would have crashed me so hard, I don't think we would be together now.
Right.
So I had to realize that my first priority was God,
Hmm.
then myself, and then you.
Hmm.
So then I couldn't have to work. That wouldn't crash my world
Yeah.
when you did something.
Right.
So the next one, oh wow, the last one, you date people who are much older than you. I mean, you
That
can.
happens.
I mean,
I don't think that's an
really.
absolute.
Yeah, I
You know
don't
what I
think
mean?
so. I
Because
don't.
in
I
the
don't know.
process of going through that
I don't believe
thing,
that.
having sex, old place, quote unquote, calling it love.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah.
run into some people older, younger, same. So
Right.
you're gonna run into that gambit. But the tendency is you're looking for someone that can give you something that you can't provide yourself.
Right.
That
But the
that
thing is,
guidance sometimes.
to go with somebody older though, because you're going with the age, don't mean that person is not childish.
You ain't lying.
So I mean, I don't really agree with that one per se. But that's what statistics say, right? But
That's what's that.
we seen where there were people that when were older people, and they was a whole lot mature than some of the younger ones. At the same time, we seen where someone was older and it was
Yeah, childish.
childish
Yeah,
than the ones that was younger than them. So
yeah,
it really just depends on the person,
it does.
you know.
It's interesting how it
Yeah,
happens, right? And I think a lot of
yeah,
times we'll look at a person's their degree, their background,
right.
their CEOs, their whatever that thing is, right?
Hmm.
That we perceive makes them beyond having these issues,
Right.
but then turn back around. Truth be told, everybody got a little child in there sitting there crying
Oh
somewhere.
yeah, definitely. If that,
There's
yeah,
every person has a child
everybody.
crying somewhere that needs to be
Hmm.
healed, heard,
Right.
and held.
And it may not be in daddy issues. It may not be mommy issues. It could be something else.
Yeah.
They're hurting. So you just rock the cradle though with that. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't go with nobody much older than you,
No, Lord,
but I did.
no. Um, see, y'all don't say
No,
about
I'm just
nobody, mom.
playing.
That's just wrong. I'm just
You're
playing.
not that much
I know.
older than me.
Yeah, Mom, I love you, by the way. If you happen to hear that, I do love you. I do love you. I honor you. You're my woman, other than my wife, and my girl, you're my people.
Uh,
I'm just saying. Okay,
all
next.
right, but now we're going to end it up with the scripture because we like to do scriptures either before or after.
Yeah.
But this one's coming from Psalm 68:5 from
Yeah.
the Easy Version. God is a father to those who have no father. He takes care of widows. He rules from his holy home.
So the key is God is a father.
Right.
So there are examples that we may have, male and female.
Hmm.
It didn't turn out like you wanted,
No.
but then turn back around. We still have a great example of who to go to and how we can get the help we need.
That's
Because
right.
God is a good
Good
father.
father. Yes, he is.
Right? So
Yeah.
the next one is, and this is my favorite. This is one of my favorite verses ever.
Isaiah 49:15 coming from the Amplified Version. The Lord answered, can a woman forget her nursing child and have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, but I will not forget you.
Man, when
Yeah,
you
that's
think,
awesome.
but the imagery of that.
Yeah.
A woman giving nurse to her child at her breast,
Hmm.
forgetting that the child is physically attached to her,
Real.
nursing.
Yeah.
Just think, and then God says, if she does forget you, I still won't.
Right. I go back to that scripture that we was reading today for the Bible app when he says that I loved you before the world was even formed.
That's it.
That's just basically.
I mean, one of these days we're gonna probably tear off of that. That verse, when we think about the magnitude of that kind of love,
that's that agape love.
That man, that's real agape.
Yep.
So before there was the fault, there was the love.
Mm-hmm.
The love didn't cover the fault.
Right.
Love covered everything before there was a fault.
Mm-hmm.
So love was the precondition to stop us from having the failure in the first place.
Yes,
man,
exactly.
Please. We use love as, you owe me unconditional love. You're supposed to love me unconditional. No, I love you unconditionally before you even had a fault.
Right.
And it remains. That's why it's there. It's planted before there's a need for it to be harvested. Anyway, that's a whole different thing.
Right. Yeah.
That's that. We'll get that one day. So
that's it for the man, for daddy issues.
Ooh, we're gonna have to come back to ladies.
For the ladies.
I'm gonna try to be as respectful and genteel as a man is supposed to be to my sisters in the faith. And my sisters that may not be of the faith. Because you still deserve that kind of love and measure of respect.
And even men deserve that kind of love.
Absolutely.
So, we can't be one-sided. Men deserve that love just like women deserve that love. So, that's it for today.
Yeah. And remember, marriage is a journey.
And not a sprint. God bless you guys. Hey, navigators. Just wanted to let you know that you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. We look forward to hearing from you all as we take steps to the journey to oneness together.